So we're a little bit late to the party, bringing you another episode of the Performance Vlog. Another couple of weeks of training and a little bit of busy work schedule, but also some increases to my commitments with umpiring. So we've started club visits. I actually had my first match simulation or practice match over the weekend. More than anything, there's been a lot of other things going on as well in and around it. So you'll get to see a couple of different things this week, and finally you actually get to see me go out in there and run. Yes, I am going and running training. It's kind of funny that so far I haven't been able to show it because it's difficult to get out there and just film running based sessions, but it's also a bit boring just watching me run maybe laps, or it's also hard for me to carry a camera or a phone like I'm holding it like this out while I'm running at some faster paces, doing some high intensity interval work. So that's where it's going to be a little bit different. You'll see a bit of that, and largely what you're going to see is a lot of change direction and acceleration work, and there's good reason for that because I had a really great session last week. I actually had one a few weeks ago that there was just a Kickstarter for last week. Had a really great session refining some stuff with Paul McKinnon, aka the Balance Runner. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a moment, but I want to show you a little bit of what I've been doing, and hopefully you can pick up some of the things. This is maybe not as relevant for the runners specifically out there, but for anyone who engages in team sport type stuff where you're changing direction, trying to accelerate, decelerate. Some of these drills you might be a little bit confused with what's going on, but some of them are really, really important in terms of making sure you're light and fast off your feet to get going. So I'm going to show you a little bit of that, and then we'll talk about what I'm actually working on in that space. So what you've just seen is a little bit of my running. There's some higher intensity stuff starting to come in, and when I say higher intensity, I now mean my top sprinting speed type stuff. So some of the stuff you were seeing just me running back and forth past the camera is largely just building in some much higher intensity, go well and truly above VO2 max, whereas over the last sort of month or so I've been majorly building just the aerobic side of things, so VO2 max just below, really working the aerobic engine. I'm still working on that and capitalizing on that, but largely now it's starting to increase, getting up to more maximal sprinting speed, so 70, 80, 90, starting to get close to 100% of max sprinting speed. And that's where on the weekend I had my first practice match, as I mentioned before, got out there and almost simulated most of a game, if you like. But that's where I also got some exposure to some really high speed running. So there was a couple of efforts in there. I might actually try and find the GPS file from my watch, which isn't going to be the most accurate because it doesn't record as quickly. And anyone who does faster, shorter, sharper stuff with like a Garmin or something similar, you always find it's a bit hard to pick up those really short moments in time. Whereas if you wear a proper GPS unit, which I have, but I didn't wear last weekend, I just forgot to charge it and take it with me. That's probably a better option in terms of measuring some of those changes in acceleration, although the top speed type stuff and that discrepancy, whereas the GPS off your watch isn't quite accurate for that. And that's ultimately coming down to it's not built for that purpose. It's built for more sustained, lengthy type efforts at much reduced intensity. So got plenty of that, which has been exciting, but also the major thing you would have seen there is a lot of change of direction. I've actually laced up the footy boots for the first time in a while over the last few weeks, getting used to wearing those again because ultimately that's what I wear on game day, so I need to be able to practice running in those. They are a lot different to wearing a running shoe. I actually had a last week, I did one session with my boots, one session on the grass with just my runners, and I could notice the difference in terms of the bounce that the foam in my shoe gives me compared to my boots. But ultimately, the boots give me grip on the grass, and particularly as we get into winter next year, again here in Melbourne, it gets wet, it gets cold. You need that grip to be able to turn, change direction and push off, accelerate, and keep up with the play and get me in the best position I can. So that making that transition is very similar to making the transition for a lot of athletes when they might run on a racing flat, or if you're transitioning wearing like vapor flies, for example, if you're a triathlete or a marathon runner. Very, very similar. It's just you want to get some little bits of exposure to it, but you don't want to do too much straight away. So slowly just build your confidence with them and build your resilience to feeling a bit of a different load through the body. And then as you progress, you can increase them more. And over the coming weeks, I've got some more practice matches. I'll be able to wear boots a little bit more. The major thing I did want to talk about here before we finish up is the change of direction stuff. And that's largely also tied in with some running technique work I've been doing with Paul McKinnon, the Balance Runner, which I'm going to link his stuff down below. A really great resource for runners and people wanting to improve their running technique. He's taken all of his stuff and moved it online. So I'm fortunate enough here in Melbourne that I can go see him pretty much any time, book in a session, go down one-on-one, and we can work through whether it's my change of direction, whether it is my running form. There's plenty of things that I still do over a period of time, and I've been seeing him to correct some stuff over the last really 3-4 years now. And there's still little bits we can tweak to help me run lighter, run faster. Once I come back into the beginning of a season, there's a few things that I forget from 12 months ago, so all those changes. But he's got this really awesome online resource that I highly recommend checking out. Takes you through his process, and it's slightly different to a lot of other running coaches. But the major thing that we've worked on for me is fixing up some of my arm swing, getting my shoulders in a nice relaxed position. They're probably the two things just from a standard running technique perspective. Really trying to get this nice rhythmic pattern and nice evenness to my left and right. I was finding I was compensating a bit, and largely that was actually being developed from my arm swing, which is, again, a bit of a different take to most people who look at running technique. Typically, they're looking hips down, whereas this is a much more, let's look at the whole movement perspective, because ultimately it was my arms that were causing most of the problem. My legs were fine. As soon as I fixed my arms, my legs changed completely, and I was in this really nice smooth pattern. I was feeling like I was accelerating off the line a bit quicker. I was feeling like I was running with a little bit more float and a little bit more lightness to it as well. So there's less impact on my legs, and I wasn't feeling as heavy in the legs, which is a common feeling that a lot of runners have. And ultimately, it opens up things like your long, slow running. It's made my long, slow, continuous running, low heart rate type stuff a lot easier. It's not as physically taxing, so I can actually keep my heart rate down where I need it to be. But the other side of it is the change of direction work. So I've been really working on, and you might see this in some of the clips, and I might overlay them again so you can see, but I've been really working on trying to get up off the ground and creating this bit of a float, or this pause in the air, if you like, it kind of looks like. And I'm exaggerating in these drills that I'm doing, but really trying to get that to then give myself some momentum to charge into the next couple of steps off that little bounce, so to speak. And that bounce gives me enough power and momentum to shift in the direction I want to go. Then ultimately those next two steps, those quick little steps, get me moving quickly and off the mark. And I'm actually finding it's really helping my acceleration quite greatly. So they're the things I've been working on there. A lot is a bit different now, so to speak, in terms of the training over the last 2 weeks. And that's going to continue to progress as I've got more practice matches coming up. I'm also going out and doing training sessions with some of the players in terms of the AFLW at the moment. Going out and educating them around the rules, because we do have a few changes this year in terms of the season. But some of those, I'm also getting some running in. So I'm actually having to chop and change my sessions, which is another one to then look out for in the members only videos. There's going to be another one going up later this week for the month of November, talking about the analysis behind my training, really going in depth. It's another one to look out for, because I really am shaking up my training a lot on the fly, because I'm dictated by when I can run, what the weather's doing, what work's doing, but then also when do I have to be ready and available to maybe do a practice match at short notice, or go to a club and be involved in drills that I don't know if they want me to do lots of running and be involved in like a match type situation, or if they want me to just go down there and talk to the players and answer some questions. Trying to play some bit of guesswork and reduce my load or increase my load in and around that has been a little bit tricky last little while, and that's why bike has sort of fallen away a bit, and you'll see that in that monthly update for the members only. But if you do want to go check that out, click the join button down below. You can head over and get that all access areas to my analysis of last month's training. For the most part, I think I've handled it pretty well, and the body's holding up really well. I feel great. I'm going out there and completing sessions to a really high standard, and I feel really confident where my body's at, particularly from a resilience to injury. Because as I've mentioned a few times, last year, a little bit of a quad problem, getting towards this time of the year, if not probably about 4 weeks from now, is when I had it last year. I really can't afford to have that happen again, because the season starts earlier. So I really feeling great with where everything's at the moment, and looking forward to this next little month leading into the beginning of the season, which is January 7th. So we're only sort of like 4 weeks away now as of filming this. So looking forward to it, really excited. Hopefully enjoyed another installment. Again, something a bit different. You're going to see a bit more running. You're going to see me bouncing the footy a bit, doing some different things. Still the gym's going to be in there, and maybe we're going to get out on the bike a little bit more now. The weather's starting to warm up. I can get outside. I'm going to finish up work in a couple of weeks for at least the Christmas week. Gives me an opportunity to get out on the bike and go riding. I'll try and film some of that for you as well. So hopefully enjoy this little installment. Apologies for it being a little bit late, but we'll see you in the next one.